Okay, right. Now, in our paper in Sri Lankan history, second question, third question, fourth question. These were related to grade 10 first lesson, second lesson. This one O, third lesson, fourth lesson, fifth lesson, sixth lesson. We have discussed last week in the first part. Now, today we have to discuss fifth question related to seventh and eighth lessons of grade 10. Sixth question related to 9th, 10th lesson of grade 10 and the second lesson of grade 11. 11 we are starting. And the seventh question that is related to third, fourth, fifth, sixth lesson of grade 11. And the eighth question, that is world history. So here we will be discussing the eighth question related to 9th lesson of grade 10 and first lesson of grade 11. And the ninth question which is related to the 7th lesson of grade 11 and the 8th lesson of grade 11. So this is about world revolutions and world history. And this is about industrial revolution or Renaissance. So this is how the schedule. So all these questions are in the first unit. So I have included all these questions in the first unit and all these questions in the second tube that I have uploaded already. I think you have got that tube. Second tube was also in the website I have uploaded. So now today we are going to discuss that tube. So have you got it? Have you got this second tube? Yes. Yes, okay, you got it right. Good. Now, what is our plan here? So plan is discussing this one today. These 4 questions. After discussing these 4 questions, if we have any time, we will be going back to the first tube and discussing the 5th question. If any shortage of time would be there, sometimes this question will be left and that would be sent to you, the completed note. And imagine now, think that second question and third question are very easy and you have to select. 6th question and 7th question, easier or like that, and you have to select. Here, out of these 2, one will be, one you have to select, no? So that depends on you, whether you are selecting 8 or 9. 8 is related to Renaissance, or Industrial Revolution. This one, world revolutions and world wars. So after discussing this tube, you can select whether to what question you are going to say. However, the easiest 4 questions we are discussing, and these 2 are a bit difficult. However, 4th one we discussed that day. 5th one already we have discussed. If we have time, we will be discussing that at the end of today's seminar. But if you don't have time, so what will we do? This answers that notes for the 5th question will be sent to you. Okay, right. So then we'll start from here these questions from the presentation. Right. So we'll start then. So this is the presentation and we are going through the presentation now. And then we can discuss. Right. So I said that question number 6 and 7 I have taken together because sometimes we can't separate to what question these questions may come. Maybe to 6, maybe to 7. However, when dealing with Canadian kings, Dutch attempted to avoid conflicts. What are conflicts here? Conflicts means wars. Avoid any war with Canadian king. Why avoiding wars? Because wars means always that's a problem. Now, when having war, economic loss, they wanted to get the maximum profits. Okay, so to get the maximum trade profits, always they wanted to avoid any war with Canadian. So to do that, what they have done, they exchange gifts with Canadian kings. Always they were sending some gifts. So the king will become so happy when receiving these gifts. Even provided ships to Canadian king to bring monks from Asian countries to restart higher ordination. What is higher ordination? In Buddhism, the monks should be high ordinated for higher ordination. Monks should be brought from other countries who have become high ordinated. It's like a decree that they gave. So then sometimes in the country, higher ordination had been stopped. So that should be done by the king under the king's patronage. If some weak rulers are there, so they stop this doing this one. So then another king, when they come back for power, they have to restart. So restart higher ordination. So they must bring monks from Burma or Thailand. So majority of the kings brought these monks from Burma. And very rarely, one king had brought monks from Thailand, that was King Kirtisri Rajas. Okay, right. So then I think someone now asking a question, asking, will you upload this? The first thing, write these things now, presently, because you have 7 days. Now, if I once again upload this also, when you just get this and start completing your notes, it will take time. So at the moment, do this. Everything will be provided. I told you that the completed tude for the previous seminar also I have uploaded to the website. This also will be done. But it's your duty to listen and understand and complete and get the education here, because I can't see you, I can't hear you, I don't know what you are doing at home. So the best thing that just at the moment get a clear understanding. This explanation once again will not come. It will come through the recording only. And I gave you a number. To that number, you have to consult to get a recording. Both recordings you can get. And here, when they were writing letters, they were ending their letters how? Your obedient servant in Colombo fort. So such phrases they were using. When the Dutch governor is just telling that he was a servant of the king, so king will become so happy and they did not disturb Dutch. So, however, I told you, only King Kirti Rajasingha brought the monks from Thailand. So we call Thailand in the history as Siam. So Siamese sect had been started in Sri Lanka under the patronage of Kirti Rajasingha. So he was the only king who brought the monks from Thailand. And these 3 kings, they were anti-Portuguese. They were against Portuguese. King Rajasingha II, King Mayadunde, King Vimaladharma Surya I. So court rulers were unsuccessful in expelling Portuguese because they were not having any naval power. So they did not have any naval power, ships to attack. From the land only they could attack. So I imagine that while I'm explaining, you are writing, completing blanks and even highlighting the things. Okay. Highlighted things are very important for the questions. Right, British power in Sri Lanka. So if anyone could not write anything, so please let me know. British power. So British arrived in Sri Lanka due to the importance of Trincomalee Harbour. They wanted to capture the Trincomalee Harbour. Sarah, you did not listen what I told at the beginning, no? So you are telling about some other thing. What is unit 6? Now this is question 6. So this one is question 6. Okay, once again I will explain. That means you have not got what I told. Okay, once again. Go back to this one and see. Once again, everyone listen carefully and get an idea what we do. We have discussed up to the fourth question last week. That means up to this one. So you mean the sixth lesson. Sixth lesson actually, it is not coming for an essay type question. So we have done up to this one. That means done up to this one means now actually this one. This one comes on fourth question comes only from the fifth lesson. So you have to now we have to do 6, 7, 8. So I told that if we have time after completing this, I'm discussing from here. Okay, in I think in page number 30 or something we have done. From there only we from the place we stopped last week, we will continue. If we have time, I think we will be having time. So if we go a bit faster. But if we don't have time, spare time, so what we do, I'm sending all the notes for this one separately. Once again, I'm uploading to the website the notes of these things. So then you can just read them. So I think it's better not to approach these two questions because they are difficult. So you have to approach these two questions. If any other these four questions are difficult only, because you have to write 4 questions out of 6 questions given here. Okay, so there are 6 Sri Lankan questions now. Out of these 6, 4 only are right. So then you can write 2, you can write 3, you can write 6, you can write 7. If any problem are there with them only, you can select these 2. These 2 are a bit hard. But never mind. So we have discussed all in the 4th question, and the 5th question also going to be discussed. Even 6th lesson. So from there only we stop. Right. We start from there. Okay. Right, now we'll go back. Right, okay. So this one, up to this we discussed British power. So they paid attention on Sri Lanka because of the importance of Trincomalee Harbour. So trade company came to Sri Lanka. British East India Trade Company. That company started ruling the maritime areas of Sri Lanka. So there was a struggle against the company. So because of that, now these are the reasons for that. So the reasons for the struggle against the British East India Company, problems related to our vendors. Who were our vendors? They were the South Indians tax collectors. South Indian tax collectors brought to Sri Lanka to help collectors, company tax collectors. So they were not knowing Sinhala or Tamil languages. They were harassingly collecting taxes. So because of that, they became a harassment. And the company introduced new 6 taxes. What are the new 6 taxes that they introduced? Right. So what are the new 6 taxes they introduced? That coconut tree tax and salt tax and toddy tax, Arab tax, tobacco tax, fish tax. So these 6 taxes. And even they ordered people to pay taxes in money. They ordered people to pay taxes in money. So because of these problems, people started a struggle against trade company. So company suppressed the struggle, but Demurrage Commission came to Sri Lanka to investigate the reasons for the struggle, and they recommended to remove these outbuilders and to appoint local tax collectors. And they once again restored Rajakari system. Rajakari system had been abolished by the company and re-establishment of Dutch court system. So they were the okay. And once again want to know the 6 types of taxes: coconut tree tax, fish tax, salt tax, body tax, Allied tax, tobacco tax. Once again, coconut tree tax, fish tax, salt tax, toddy tax, Arab tax, and tobacco tax. Good. Sarah has given that part on this chat messages. So if anyone want, you can see that. That's good. That's a help for me. Otherwise, I have right. Okay. Good. Major reasons for the unsuccess of second British invasion to Canada. First British invasion was done under Sir Governor North to Canada. It became unsuccessful. Governor North did the first invasion to Kandy, but it was unsuccessful. 1803. So if you want, you can just write some of that extra notes with you, right? Governor North was the one who did the first invasion to Kandy. First British invasion. It became unsuccessful. Second British invasion was done to Kandy by Robert Brownrigg, Governor Robert Brownrigg. It became successful because of what two reasons? King losing the loyalty of common people. King Sri Vikrama Rajasinghe was a drunkard and he was very cruel. He was giving severe punishments to people. He was removing the privileges of single aristocracy. So he lost the loyalty of common people and the support of aristocrats means whom? The nobles. So that's one reason. And contribution of John Doyle, he was a British civil servant, and he, yes, Abdullah says 1803 is the invasion, yes, correct. And this John Doyle was a British civil servant, and he gathered all the information about Canadian Kingdom by behaving as a common person, wearing local dresses, not wearing slippers, chewing beetle, learned single and talking with single people. So, however, he gathered all the information and later he became the guide for the second invasion. So, these are the two reasons. So, this is actually a big answer for an exam question. A big answer for an exam question. So, but I am not going to discuss that in detail here because we don't expect this one to come now. This and Governor Frederick North, in the first invasion in 1903, he had taken Muthuswami, the real heir for the throne, to Kandy, and he enthroned him as the king. But when the invasion became a failure, when our people won, Muthuswami was killed. So Muthuswami was killed, and because of that, he could not get the kingship. And this invasion had been done under the leadership of Commander McDowell in 1803. And before that, also he sent an army, even under McDowell. And here, second invasion. So first invasion was done under McDowell, Commander McDowell, and it was a failure. So it was done by whom? Governor Sir Frederick North. Okay, keep these things highlighted. Okay. Right. So I think you are complete the notes, right? First War of Independence of 1818. What is the major reason? The repentance of not having a king. What happened to the king? King Sri Vikrama Rajasinghe was deported to Vellore in India. So there was no king in their kingdom to tell their grievances. Our people had a habit of telling all the grievances, problems, and sadnesses of them to the king and getting a relief. But now there were no king and they had to respect an unseen king who was living in England. And these are the leaders, Capitibula, Pilmatala, Butave, Retidala. Capitibula was the major leader. And the immediate cause, because of this that happened, appointment of Haji Marikar as Mandige Mohandaram. So who was Mandige Mohandaram? The officer in charge of travel and transport in Canadian Kingdom. Traditionally to that post, who should be appointed? Only a single Buddhist leader from Uvavedas. But now English appointed who? English appointed a Muslim leader. So that is the immediate cause. He was a Muslim leader, right? Haji Malik Khan. So because of that, the struggle started from Uvavedas. And British governor related to the first struggle of freedom, Robert Brownrigg, the same person who had captured Canadian Kingdom. So related to him, the first struggle. In the second struggle, the major reason is tax policy of the government Governor Viscount Torrington implemented new taxes. What are the new taxes here? Gun tax, dog tax, and body tax, even cart and catamaran tax, boat tax, shop tax, many taxes were implemented by Governor Viscount Torrington, so that people came out to struggle against the government. Right. Asking which lesson, because I was unable to attend the last class again. Okay, right. So that's why I just explain here. Here we are discussing the second lesson. So first 10th lesson of grade 10 and second lesson of grade 11. We are now discussing to write answers for the sixth question. Then we are continuing like this. Grade 11, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then grade 11, first lesson, 7, 8 lessons, grade 11 things we are discussing today. And to answer 6, 7, 8, 9 questions of all our paper. So that day we discuss grade 10, first, second, third, fourth, fifth lessons. 6, 7, 8 we will be discussing at the end of the day, today's month. Okay. Right. So now we are in second lesson of grade 11. So we are in the second lesson of grade 11. So here the leaders Kongale Bandapuran, Apu and Mokadahapola. So they were the leaders here in the second struggle for freedom done by us to become liberated from British. Complete your notes while explaining. Get a kind of revision while explaining. So if anyone is here that for the first seminar, if he has not come, what he has to do, the completed note that we have done in the first day, that is in the website uploaded. So you can download that note. If you want the recording, you have to consult Miss Hasna. I gave the number of Miss Hasna at the beginning, but once again now I'm giving. Consult her in the 077 555 2298 number. So she will provide you the recording, both recordings. Even by tomorrow, she can give the second recording. This recording also I'll be giving her. Okay, main reason for McDowell invasion was to show the power of British and sign a favorable trade treaty. No, that is the first time that the Governor North sent an army to show the power. But here I'm just talking about the first invasion. First invasion also, it has been done by Governor North. So that is actually during dual control era, 1800, only that Governor North had sent an army to Canadian Kingdom with 8 cannons, 1,500 something soldiers under McDowell show the power. In the first invasion, 1803 had been done by even him by using McDowell. Now I think don't misguide these things, right? So if you have any question like that, please at the moment ask. Then I can clear that. Even from tomorrow, you can send me WhatsApp messages. So I was so busy these days and I did not reply for some messages. But if you want, you can send me messages if you have any problem about these things, right? Okay. Major reason for the second invasion, the land sale policy of British and the taxation system of Governor Viscount Torrington. So this Viscount Torrington was governor at that time. Okay. Right. Major characteristics of right? Major characteristics of constitutional reformations. Now we are going to discuss major characteristics of constitutional reformations from Colebrook up to the Second Republican. Okay, I'm moving down then. Failures of the struggle aren't important. No, they are important only for term test, not for this, right? Okay, Colebrook Reformation of 1833, introduction of the Executive and Legislative Councils. Executive and Legislative Council is the earliest parliament. So to reduce the powers of the government. So why Colebrook introduced executive and legislative councils to reduce the powers of the government? So in the exam asking like that, what was the method or the step that had been taken to reduce the powers of the governor? Establishment of executive and legislative councils. After that, the governor had to ask from these two councils and do any work. Starting of plantation economy. Plantations were started by Colebrook. Termination of the trade monopoly of the government. Earlier, cinnamon trade and elephant trade should be only but done by the king or the government. So here, even they allow the common people to just do these two trade activities. Okay, trade monopoly of the government. Crew-McCallum reforms of 1911. Limited franchise was introduced. What is limited franchise? Limited franchise means actually that only educated and rich people could vote. However, for the first time, voting power was given to Sri Lankans. So, but only 4% of the population, only rich and educated people could vote. Universal franchise was received to Donamo. This is limited franchise, limited vote. However, through people's vote, the representatives were appointed to the council. Under that, an educated Ceylonese had gone to the legislative council. If anyone knows, can you tell me who was this educated Ceylonese who went to the Crew-McCallum council through public vote? Ponnambalam Ramanathan. Good. So one answer came. Ponnambalam Ramanathan. Many reforms of 1921, they introduced territorial representation. What is territorial representation? Provincial representation. Provincial representation means the members were appointed or elected to represent an area, like represent Colombo, represent Jaffna, like that. Until that, what was prevailing? Communal representation. What was communal representation? Members were elected to represent a communal group. That means to represent Sinhalese, to represent Muslims, to represent like that, to represent a race. Okay, ethnic group, good. So some are giving me, helping me, giving some words. That's good, right? Donamo reforms of 1931, universal franchise, an executive committee system, and after that, the legislative council was known as state council. In the exam asking, in what reforms the legislative council was started calling as state council, Donamo. After that, all these legislative councils were given a name until now, starting from Donamo. And Salisbury reforms of 1947, introduction of the post of prime minister. Until that, no prime minister. Okay, and after that, the legislative council was known as bicameral parliament. And until Salisbury, there was a governor, but here a new post was introduced. Okay, Governor General. Governor General. Yes, this lesson is connected to grade 9 lesson, but normally grade 10 things are coming for the exam, not 9 things are not coming, right? Okay, Governor General. And the cabinet system was started under Salisbury reforms. The cabinet of ministers headed by the prime minister, they are discussing important matters, daily matters. Establishment of an upper house called Senate. Senate was one of the bicameral means two houses are there. So out of these two houses, Senate means one house. And even the cabinet headed by the prime minister. 1972 constitution, the parliament was called as National State Council. Now see, legislative council became state council under Donamo, that became bicameral parliament under Salisbury, that became National State Council in 1972. And after that, what happened? Governor General, post of Governor General was stopped, abolished. In place of Governor General, the post of nominal president was replaced. Governor General was appointed by the Queen of England. He had to work according to the wishes of the Queen of England, but this nominal president had been appointed by the Prime Minister. He is not having any connection with the Queen of England. So because of that, we can say started our people's sovereignty. Earlier, Queen of England or King of England had the power to change our government. Sovereignty means in one question they have asked, what is sovereignty? The ability of changing the government. So that power was with Queen of England or King of England until Salisbury comes. Sorry, until first Republican comes up to Salisbury. But now the nominal president is there. So we have disconnected the Queen of England or King of England being the head of Sri Lanka. Here you see the King, Queen of Great Britain terminated the state leadership in Sri Lanka. That was terminated. Second Republican is present constitution that we have. So we know that the parliament is known as parliament, legislative council. The post of nominal president had been replaced by executive president. Now very powerful president is there. And a Supreme Court was introduced to hear the cases related to violation of human rights. So if common people's human rights were violated, they can complain to the Supreme Court to regain the violated rights. But if human rights of this government officials were violated from their higher officials, they should not go to the Supreme Court. So to where they have to go? They have to complain ombudsman. A new post was introduced known as ombudsman to come for the government servants to complain about the human right violations of them from the higher officials. And under this 1978 constitution, new three elections were introduced. Three new elections were introduced. Presidential election to elect the president, proportional preferential system of election to elect the members to parliament, provincial council, and local government bodies. Referendum is an election that people can directly participate in legislation by answering yes or no. We will be discussing an essay type question about this later on. Keep them highlighted and completed notes. So while listening, you have a lot of works, right? You have to highlight, you have to complete the blanks. Right, moving to the next. National leaders, importance of some leaders. He conveys to Sumangala, what did he do? Vidyodaya when he started. Atmalane Tammalokatero, what did he do? Vidyalakara when he had started. Vidyodaya Pirivena is presently known as Sri Jayavardhanapura University. Vidyalakara Pirivena is presently known as Kelly University. What do you mean by ethnic groups or this message comes now? What do you want to ask from me, Abdullah? Ethnic groups is what? Maybe wrong message. Okay. Yeah, you told before. Good. Migedothi Gunanath Thedo called five-fold debates, right? And Henry Street Olcott started Buddhist Theosophical Society. This was his organization that he started, and starting of Sunday Dhamma schools, and contributed in declaring Vesak Poya Day as a public holiday. And we discussed about Ponnambalam Ramanathan. He became the first educated Ceylonese elected to curriculum reforms. And Ponnambalam Arunachalam became the first president of Ceylon National Congress in 1990. Arumugan he published a newspaper. What is the name? Udebanu. He started a school. What's the name? Shivangala College in Jaffna, presently known as Hindu Vidyalaya. And he translated Tamil poetry into simple Tamil. But the difference between Ceylon National Congress and Lanka Congress, okay. Ceylon National Congress was started in 1919 to get the contribution of all communal groups for the struggle for freedom. Lanka Congress was actually started before. Lanka Congress was started by planters. And Lanka Congress was started by planters and the middle class people in Sri Lanka. But Lanka Congress was one of the earliest organizations worked for the constitutional reforms with Chilau Congress, Jaffna Congress, Lanka Congress. Lanka Congress is not this Ceylon National Congress. It was started in 1919 by the middle class leaders to get the independence. Okay, this one, Siddhilebe Zaira College in Maradana, highlight that he started. And even a Muslim Academic Club was the organization that he started. And his newspaper, Muslim Nation, and he started schools called Madrasa. And T.B. Chaya became the principal of Zaira College. So about these leaders, one MCQ will exactly come about these leaders. And S.W.R.D. Bandaranaike was also important. So he was the one who made Sinhala as a state language, and he upgraded this Vidyodaya Pirivena and Vidyalankara Pirivena up to the university level. He was the one who upgraded. They were started as Pirivenas, but upgraded as university. Okay. Economic changes experienced during British administration. This lessons said education is not important. No, very important. Very important. Okay. Because we have to answer 6 and 7 questions related to this. And birth of labor class. Why labor class? Because that you know that British, they have taken the land of the Canadians to start plantations, though lost their land. Lost their land. So then they told you can work under us in plantations, but what our people do, our people was really proud and they migrated to cities in search of jobs. In cities, they had some odd jobs like loading and unloading goods to the cart and pulling rickshaw carts and working in laundries like. So they formed the urban labor class. They were working for salary. So earlier there was no any people working for salaries, and trade unions were started to win their rights. Cultural changes experience. Western culture and Eastern culture were mixed with each other, and expansion of Western education, starting of taverns and bars in Sri Lanka. So asking, are we discussing map marking today? No map marking today, right? Because we have done a map marking seminar. What is meant by taverns? Taverns are the places where liquor is sold, declining of social values. The first political party in Sri Lanka is Lanka Samasamaja Party. The first political party is Lanka Samasamaja Party. Yeah, labor class comes under social media, so we will change. We discuss the question later on. Okay. Farming settlements established before gaining independence. Iva Kagama, Minere, Nachaduva, Beragama, Minipe, Parakam, Samudra, Ridiban, Yala. After independence, Gallo, Kantale, Giritele. So better remember Gallo, Kantale, Giritele. There were three settlements. What are farming settlements? Landless farmers of the wet zone have been taken and established in dry zone as settlements. So that is farming settlements. This was done by D.S. America. We will be having a question related to that. Now we'll go for the model questions. Strategic policies adopted by Dutch in Sri Lanka to obtain maximum profits. So this is important. So you can put double star marks for this question because that's an important question for this time. So I'm giving some clues and hints for you to keep them in remembering. So I'm putting this one, a smiling face here. Okay. So why that is important? Okay, this is having a smiling face. Right. So that's important question for the exam. What they have done to maximize their profits, keeping peaceful relationships with the Candian kingdom as far as possible. Why? If they come for these wars, what would happen? Reducing their profits. As far as possible, they try to keep friendly relations with Candian king. Friendly relations with Candian king. So what did they do? So we discussed in early place also, sending gifts to the Candian king, celebrating special events of Candian king even at the Colombo fort, like his coronation or his marriages or anything like. And when sending letters to the Candian king, they end in their letters with your obedient servant in Colombo fort. So this is to show that their loyalty to the king and even avoiding conflicts and invasions and helping the Canadian king to bring monks from southeastern countries. Two examples I have given here. King Rajasingh II, he brought monks from Burma. King Kirtisri Rajasingh was the only one king who brought monks from Siam, Thailand. So Siamese sect had been started during his time. So this is one step that they have taken to maximize, obtain maximum profits from Sri Lanka. A smiling face question, so we expect this one to come. And the second step is what? Adopting a favorable economic policy. So they maintained the monopoly in cinnamon trade, started plantations in home garden basis to grow cinnamon, pepper, and cardamom, and use of canals to transport goods. Hamilton Canal was constructed by them. Why they use canals? Because it was cheaper. And regularizing the collection of taxes by writing this Thombu and Blue Book. Thombu and Blue Book are what? There were some records about the taxpayers, collecting all the information about taxpayers, and then they started regularizing the tax collection to increase their income. And they started some industries, what? Timber industry and even pearl gathering they have done. They destroyed all the pearl grounds of Sri Lanka and collected pearl and have taken to their country. So that is the second step, adopting a favorable economic policy. If this question is given, usually they give to write under how many headings? 3 headings. So we have discussed 3 headings. Right? So the third one is signing 2 treaties favorable for them. Can anyone tell me what are the 2 treaties that they have signed with single kings? Dutch. Anyone who has studied? (1766) correct with what king? 1838, no, wrong. This is 1638. Okay. Abdullah says 1766 treaty with King Kirti Rajasinghe, correct. Not only that, you have to mention what were the favorable phrases in those treaties to Dutch. Here, this is the answer. Dutch did not want to invade Canadian kingdom, but they invaded it when they felt necessary to control Canadian kingdom. Good. Fatima says 1638 treaty with King Rajasinghe II. When King Rajasinghe II requested the help of Dutch to expel Portuguese, they signed 1638 treaty with the king. Okay. Many of the terms of in 1638 treaty were favorable for them. One example you are give? What? Dutch should expel Portuguese and the king should pay more expenses. I told you in every explanatory answer, there must be 3 facts. For 3 facts only they give marks. So this is a fact. You have mentioned about the treaty, you have mentioned what is inside that. Dutch had spread their power in many areas which were saved from Portuguese, as there was a praise in the treaty that they could stay in captured ports of Portuguese. There was a praise in the treaty that they could stay in any port of Portuguese that they captured. So that was advantageous for them. Okay, staying in those places, fortresses, they did trade activities. And if the king likes, but the phrase if the king likes was not entered in their copy of the treaty, so that was a fake one. After the invasion to Kandy done in 1760 by Dutch, they signed 1766 treaty with King Kirti Sri Rajasinghe. In that, there was a phrase that was favorable for them. A strip of land having the width of 1 gau had to be handed over to Dutch throughout the coast of Sri Lanka. So no any foreign nation could come and have discussions or any relationship with Canadian king after that, because they had to get permission from Dutch. If the king wanted to have any relationship with any other nation, so he had to get the permission from the Dutch. Highlight these things. Now, what you have to do, so you cannot by heart these 2 dudes, no. It's a long stuff. So remember highlighted facts when studying and then explain in your words and write. My advice, on the previous day of having history, not the next week, but the next week, you have the language paper. It is ending at 3 o'clock. So by that time, when you come back home, it will become 4 or 4:30. You don't have much time to read all the books and get a revision. My advice, only read these 2 booklets or these 2 PDF files. That's enough to cover up entire 2 syllables and which is needed for the exam. No question can be given out of these 2 dudes. Only from this dude they can give you any question. So I guarantee that. So because of that, only read these 2 notes. So you have to get the 2 completed notes. One is there on the websites. Just now, even now it's there. This note I'll be uploading by tomorrow morning, because I'm not getting late, because you have only 7 days. By tomorrow morning, this will be there, or maybe sometimes tonight. You can download. But if you want to get the recording, you have to consult Miss Hasna and get it. The previous recording is with her. So I gave the number, right? Third, now this is that question and the next half of the question. And they should be given the trade monopoly of cinnamon and tuskers in Canadian Kingdom. So that's also favorable for them. The next possible question, model question, is this one. Reasons for Portuguese or Dutch could not capture the power of Canadian Kingdom. For this also, I am putting a smiling face. So that is also an important question. Why Portuguese or Dutch could not capture the power of right? This Kandyan kingdom. One thing is natural protection and the loyalty of Candians to the king. Which nation introduced coffee? Dutch, but it was done by who? British. Okay, right. So Candian kingdom is surrounded by mountains and had to cross the gaps. If they cross the gaps, no one can enter. Right? And by closing the gaps, they can protect the Candian kingdom, but we don't do like that. Our strategy we will discuss in the next one. It can be protected well by preventing any invading group entering the kingdom, even as Candian kingdom is surrounded and protected by Mahanadi River. It has a natural protection. Now see, surrounded mountains is one point. Here surrounded by Mahanadi River is second point. Even Candian forests are difficult to be crossed, very difficult to find road. The third point. So 3 points must be there in your answer. Otherwise, less marks are given. 3 points must be explained. Okay, natural protection. Even Candians, they were not giving any help to any foreign nation. The strategic war done by Sinhalese is the second. I told you that we don't close gaps. We allow them to come in. Then we close. Now they can't go back. And until they reach Candian city, our armies are hiding and attacking. So why we are hiding and attacking? Because we have swords and we have to go near to them to attack. They have guns and they can shoot us with a distance. However, at least 1/4 of the power of the army was destroyed when they reached Candian city. When they reach Candian city also, what do? The king and the single armies, they leave the city declaring open city. And very happily they come in. Very happily they come in and stay. But then the next step comes in. They can't survive in that bad climate. And they can't survive because they lost the communication with Colombo and they could not obtain food, medicine, or weapons. So they will become so weaker, and our people, they surround that army and attack. Allowing the foreign army to come in, closing gaps, attacking behind, declaring open city, and facing a lot of difficulties, lost communication with Colombo, and single armies around the foreign army and attack. The geographical location of the Candian kingdom, you can write it that heading for natural protection. And the third heading is skills of Sinhala kings. Many Sinhala kings defeated Portuguese. Rajasingha the first, as Prince Tikiri, he did Mulderia battle against Portuguese, and that they received the worst defeat that they ever faced in Asia. And even Vimaladharma Surya the first, he did 2 battles against Portuguese. Rajasingha the first, Mulderia battle, and Vimaladharma Surya, Danture and Balana battle, both battles he won. And Rajasingha the second did 2 battles against Portuguese, Randenivala and Gandarua battles. They became successful, and all the battles Portuguese were defeated. So even he got the help of Dutch to expel Portuguese, and that was successful. And this Dutch did only one invasion during Kirti Rajasingha, and that we can't say that they won or we won. They just invaded, had signed a treaty and came back. Because of that, we can't say that they won or we won. How to answer question Fairy of Sita Kingdom? I don't think that a question will be given like Fairy of Sita Kingdom. It's not an important point. So we'll discuss all past paper questions and we see such a question has not come in, even will not come. That question will not be there in the set of questions that the professor selected. Normally, there's a set of questions that the person who make the paper select and give you. Out of this set of questions only he will give. But in that lot, there is no any question like that one. In support test paper, it came here, or maybe because support test paper is not prepared by the professor, it's prepared by someone else. Most are saying world history has less opportunity. No, they will give you 2 questions exactly. This time the question paper will be there according to the normal structure. You don't ask about this map marking now. We have done a seminar. Okay. Right. So then this is the next question. This is also very important. So this one, once again, this also a smiling face question. Reasons for the first war of independence: dissatisfaction of common people and leaders. Why common people were dissatisfied? Because they have lost their king. And they had to respect the king of Great Britain, a king who was living in a faraway country. Those Candians who had a habit of telling their grievances to the king, they had no one to tell the grievances. They did not believe that an European nation would protect their religion and culture as a single king. Okay. Who tells that world history will not come? Then how can the question can be prepared without world history? Even in early 6 papers, world history questions were exactly there. Okay, you check all the past papers, world history was there. Yes, they had no king to tell their grievances. Okay, then privileges of leaders. They promised to the Candian kingdom to give, Candian convention to give all the privileges of the Candian leaders as they were during the time of the king. But leaders gradually lost their traditionally held land, positions, and income. So that's why they contributed for this struggle. At the fear of destroying the religion and culture, British promised to give royal patronage to Buddhism and temple, but they did not do that. They neglected the temple and monks. And even people were afraid that the traditional culture of the Candian kingdom would be destroyed in the hands of British. Now they had to see what scenery in Candian city. The British soldiers walking here and there with their uniform, but earlier the scenery was what during the king's time, that Candian leaders were walking with their traditional dress. When they see these soldiers as a scene in Candian city, they got afraid that their culture and religion would be destroyed. So that scenery disturbed common people and they were disappointed. So fear of destroying their religion and culture is the second heading. Disappointment of common people and leaders is the first heading. Then what is the third heading? British violating customs, traditions, and terms of the convention. They promised through the Candian Convention to protect Buddhism, give privileges to the leaders as they enjoyed earlier, but they did not do that. They violated the promise and went against the terms of the convention. They appointed a Muslim leader called Haji Marikar for the post of Madige Muhandiram. Usually, traditionally, it should be given to a single Buddhist leader from Uvavellas. But they have not done that. And they appointed a Muslim leader. So that's why the struggle started from Uvavellas. Violating customs, traditions, and terms of convention is the third heading. Then we move on to the next question. That's about Colebrook economic reformations that help the improvement of plantation economy. We don't pay much attention on this question, but we'll discuss it as a question. Establishing an economic system that strengthened private entrepreneurship. So that means they invited British to come here and spend money on local plantations. And they abolished Rajakari system. The government wanted to invest money on profitable business, but they had no money. So what did they do? They built a situation in which private entrepreneurs could invest money. They abolished Rajagari system, thinking that it would be a disturbance to get labor needed for plantations. However, they had to bring South Indian laborers to work in plantations. So that is the first Colebrook economic reformation. Introducing a land sale policy is the second one. They wanted to get Canadian land to start plantations. So what did they do? They introduced Barren Land Act. What was Barren Land Act? If any Canadian is having any land which he could not show the proper inheritance, that means how he got it for 30 years, it is a barren land or a wasteland. That land had to be handed over to the British freely without getting anything. That land they sold to foreigners to start plantations for cheaper prices. Okay, so Barren Land Act of in 1840. So this was introduced by Colebrook. That was supporting plantation economy. So if any question is asked, what are the two actions taken by Colebrook Commission to support plantation? So this is one, introducing land sale policy. There's a question in past papers like that also. Civil servants too got the opportunity of buying government land. So they were allowed. So that was done by Colebrook, the land sale policy. Third one, direct taxes were turned to indirect taxes. What are direct taxes? The taxation system prevailed in Sri Lanka was what? If anyone caught 5 fish, 1 fish had to be given to the government or the tax collectors as the tax. If anyone plugged 5 coconut, 1 should be given. In goods, we paid taxes. But British did not want fish or coconut or something like that. They wanted money. They turned these direct taxes into indirect taxes. That means what? For the fishing boat, people had to buy a permit by paying annually. After that, they can catch any amount of fish. Annual payment was taken, indirect taxes. Now we have indirect taxes. Okay, direct taxes were prevailed and a portion of the harvest had to be given. Direct taxes were transformed to indirect taxes. We can give some examples. A common permit was given to fishing boats annually. They have to get it by paying annually to the government. And even for land, they introduced a common tax, land tax. They were indirect taxes. Okay, they were indirect taxes here. Instead of paying with fish for the one who had the right to collect taxes in fishing, a boat tax was introduced to be paid annually. So that is an indirect tax, a boat tax. Should we pay more attention for this lesson? Why not? Once again, over and over again, I have to discuss this. Now see here. So what are the easier questions in the question paper? Second question, third question, 6 and 7. If these are very easier, why you are not approaching? So, we are discussing this 6 and 7 questions now together. Okay, so grade level 3, 4, 5, 6. Very easy questions. Don't go for difficult questions. So you pay more attention on this. That's very important. All the questions and answers I have given here. I'll be showing there here. What were the past paper questions that had come? So then what you have to do? Only just studying. Now see the next question. Changes in the economy and the society of Sri Lanka under British. This is also very important question. Here once again I will put what? A smiley face. Okay, for this question. This answer can be written for other questions also. If they give the question, What is the changes in the economy and society because of plantation economy? Same answer. Changes in the economy and society because of the influence of industrial revolution to Sri Lanka. Same answer. Same answer you can write. So this question can be given in these 3 ways. So the same answer because of Renaissance is good. So that means how this answer can be given? Changes in the economy and society of Sri Lanka under British, under plantation economy, influence of industrial revolution, because industrial revolution came to Sri Lanka because of British. Before that, no industrial revolution, industrialization in Sri Lanka. So I think you got it. The same answer you can write for all these 3 questions. The question can be given in 3 forms, but the same answer. Evolution of an import-export economy. So import-export economic order had been introduced. So coffee became the first one, and then cinchona, then cocoa. They became a failure, and then tea, rubber, and coconut became main export crops. Okay. Import-export economy has been introduced because of this influence. Growth of a middle class and working class, that's a social change. Import-export economy comes under economic change. Middle class and working class. Who are middle class? Those Sri Lankans who provided some services to the government, British government, they became rich. Those rich people, they gave an English education for their children. After English education in Sri Lanka, they were sent to England for higher studies. Those Sri Lankans who studied in England higher studies, they came to Sri Lanka and formed the middle class. They were rich and educated. Rich and educated group was known as middle class. And even here, labor class. I explained how labor class has been formed. No? Those Sri Lankans who did not like to work in plantations, they migrated to cities. In cities, there were some odd jobs, loading and unloading goods to the market, and even to the cart, and washing clothes and printing paper like that. So those people, they formed the working labor class. So the loss of land held by them in Canadian areas organized themselves as a working labor class in main cities. Even Indian labor class came and they worked in states. Okay. Growth of the middle class and working class, social changes. If they ask you to write 2 social changes, growth of the middle class, birth of working class, you separately write. Separately write. Okay, 2 headings, 2 social changes. Middle class and labor class disadvantages. No. Both classes are not disadvantages. Because of the middle class only, we experience constitutional changes. And even labor class, we can say disadvantages. No problem. The Sri Lankan laborers, they want their rights and all these things because of organizing themselves as the labor class. Development of communication and transportation. Exactly influence of industrial revolution. The development of a communication network joining main cities, and the road network by Governor Edward Barnes. And he used Rajakari system to construct roads. And this can be written on economic change. Okay. And a macadam method in constructing road network. They were using John Macadam introduced the macadam method. Strength of those roads were enough for the fast moving of heavy vehicles. Iron bridges were replaced in place of wooden bridges. Okay, and then even that Henry Ward constructed railway lines. You can write in 1857 he started constructing Colombo Candy Railway. 1863 only the first train service from Colombo Candy. After that, the railroads were extended to Navalapitiya, then up to Bandaravila. Like that, you can explain. Even use of modern transport modes. If there are disadvantages of British rule, can we say formation of labor class society? There are many other disadvantages facts. Starting of taverns and bars. And the values of the society had been lost, declining of the society, affecting the culture, and destroying self-sufficiency. Many things you can take note. Why you select some unsure things? We have specific things. Don't select unsure things. Okay, right. So then, aviation transportation means that airports were activated. Air transportation, postal service command communication, delivering letters using horse chariots, and that was started in Sri Lanka for the first time in Asia, and development of Colombo Harbour to facilitate import-export economic process. So that is what the development of communication and transportation. So this is an economic change. Right. So then we'll go to this question. Very important. Explain the contribution of farming. Yeah, you have to explain 3 points, right? Explain the contribution of farming settlements for the economic development. Important. Okay. What are farming settlements? Farming settlements are, now you know here, after Anuradha kingdoms, during the southwestern kingdoms, people migrated to wet zone. Dry zone became people, no people, and it became a forest. Now there was a huge population in the wet zone, overpopulated. There are people who are not having any work. There are farmers who are not having land to do their farming activities. Unemployment, land problem. D.A. Senanayake, when he became the agricultural minister under Donamore reforms, he decided to solve this problem. How? Once again, using the land of the dry zone for the economic development. He selected those landless farmers from the wet zone, and then he settled these farmers in the dry zones, giving all the facilities. Even every facility should be provided. Schools, health facilities, road network, markets, and everything. However, through this, he could use the land of the dry zone for the economic developments. If a question is given, dry zone of Sri Lanka is the most suitable area to develop the economy of Sri Lanka, explained under 2 headings. So this is the answer. Okay. So here, using the land of the dry zone for the economic development. So why dry zone is important? Dry zone was ideal area for agriculture due to fertile soil and climatic factors. Could be used to do paddy cultivation. Dry period for 9 months. They could do cultivation of paddy, yalla, maha, method. And even grains and vegetables, everything you can grow there. Okay, even paddy. The government could increase facilities here. So importance of the dry zone for the economic development of Sri Lanka, right? This one. If the question is given in this way also, this is the answer. They will ask, what is the importance of the dry zone for the economic development? What is the answer? This one, having good climate and fertile soil and those things. Get the answer. And what is the other heading related to these farming settlements? Ability of solving a lot of problems created by increasing population in the wet zone. What are the problems? Overpopulation. So they could settle some people in the dry zone and settle that problem. And landless community was there. Landless community means some farmers who are not having farming lands. So they could be given farming lands. Landless farmers in the wet zone could be settled in the dry zone and could be able to give a solution for population problem. It became a solution for the competition for land in the Bets on. A satisfied farming community could be created. Why? Giving all the facilities for these farmers in the dry zone. And even irrigation became renewed. Why? That many irrigation systems that prevailed in the dry zone had been destroyed because of not using for a long time until this happens. This was once again renewed. And even food problem in the country too could be solved. And even foreign trade had been developed. Now see here, what is the question? Farming settlements, contribution of farming settlements for the economic development of the country. Okay. So it was used in dry zone for farming settlements and solving problems. By solving problems also contributing for the economic development. About farming settlements, they can give you a question. The next question is about what? This one. This is also important. About what? Objectives of multi-purpose development projects. What are the two multi-purpose development projects activated in Sri Lanka? Mahavali Development Project and Galloy Development Project. So here, even this question can come in this way also. Importance of Mahavali River for the economic development of Sri Lanka. The same answer. So, what is the importance here? Continuous water supply to the dry zone. Why Mahavali River had been dammed from different places and that water had been taken to some reservoirs to distribute in the dry zone. Mahavali River was flowing to the river, the ocean, without using any use of that water. So what did the governments do? They have dammed, they have crossed, they have blocked the Mahavali River from different places like Polgol and all. They had taken that Mahavali water through canals to Bovatan Reservoir and some other reservoirs, and to that the water had been sent to the tanks in the dry zone. So the farming people who were in farming settlements, they could get water, continuous water supply. Okay, so this is actually Mahavali. And even as many settlements were established in the dry zone and early irrigation works have been destroyed, a new way of providing water to the dry zone was needed. Mahavali River is the longest river in which a large amount of water flows to the ocean without any use. Was used for Mahavali Development Project. It was dammed from different places and water was stored in large reservoirs like Victoria, Randenigala, and those that through the construction of canals, that water was taken to dry zone and early times in the dry zone could be filled. So even if the question is given as the importance of Mahavali River for the economic development, so this is the answer. Even Galloy, no problem, you can take this one, Galloy, but about Galloy, much information is not given in the text. Okay. Right, producing electricity is the second heading. An increased demand for electricity in Sri Lanka, a solution for that. Okay. By damming Mahavali River, they could make reservoirs like Victoria, Randanigala and produce hydroelectricity. That is also one of the answers, even importance of Mahavali River for the economic development. So after discussing all the past papers related to this section, we'll have the break. Okay. Okay. So we move on to the next page then. Okay, this one. Creating more farming settlements. The importance of the dry zone for economic development. So dry zone is very important to start farming settlements. So that means importance of dry zone for the economic development. If a question comes like that, this wet zone is highly populated due to heavy migrations. In order to reduce population density in wet zone, landless community who live in the wet zone should be settled in one other areas. The more suitable land for agriculture is found in the dry zone. So it was suitable for the economic development. So farming settlements and Mahavali development project and multipurpose development project. Okay, so that's important. We see how past papers are given. Steps taken to make the country self-sufficient in rice and economic development. So this one I'm not taking as very important. But some steps they have taken to develop agriculture, appointing a Minister of Agriculture and Donamo reforms. D.S. Nayak became the first agricultural minister. And the government, they introduced a guaranteed price for paddy. That means the buyers of paddy had to pay that exact amount to buy. Establishment of Paddy Research Center at Batalagoda. Farming service centers had been started to give advices for farmers, and loans were given to farmers to do their farming activities. So these are the steps taken by early governments to develop agriculture. So about the establishment of farming settlements, we have just discussed the three objectives: reducing unemployment, increasing food production, using the land of the dry zone for the economic development. Those are the objectives of farming settlements. And even these several farming settlements were started, and Mahali development project objectives also we discussed: continuous water supply to the dry zone and producing hydroelectricity. So highlight what I highlight here. So they may come as structured as a short questions also. And started by Daniel Mahavel at Paul Goller, constructed many multi-purpose development projects. What are the two multi-purpose development projects started in Sri Lanka, Mahaveli and Galla? Commercial agriculture, declaring a limited area for land in 1972. That means they limited the amount of land that one person could hold. Because of that, landless farmers had the ability of getting some land. Commercial plantation companies were peopleized, rubberized agreement. According to this agreement, we agreed to send our rubber to China, and they sent their rice to Sri Lanka. This was for 30 years. At the time of 1952, it was okay. But after 30 years, when we see rubber prices have gone up and rice prices were not going up. So it was disadvantages for us after 30 years. And small scale export crops were introduced to Sri Lanka: cinnamon, cardamom, nutmeg, Mathale. A research center was started. About industrialization, government policy on foreign and private investments, establishment of People's Bank in 1961, local home industries were started, mega state industries were started. So that is about the industrialization of Sri Lanka. Iron and cement were the large scale industries. So then the next one is what? Three types of elections. New representation systems. Three types of elections, right? Presidential elections. So just this one you keep it highlighted. I don't think that it will come. Okay. To elect the president, only this presidential election is done. Okay. And entire country is considered as one electorate. If there are more than two candidates, right? We are not one, two candidates. People have to give preferences like 1, 2, 3. The person who get more than 50% of the valid votes will become the president. If anyone cannot reach that 50% mark, then first and second references of second and third preferences of people are considered. Then if even one cannot exceed, once again a new election is held. On a proportional preferential system of election, to elect members to the parliament, provincial council, and local government bodies. They were using this one. Normally, a group of people, a group of candidates, they just participate according to the how the political parties they get votes. They are entitled to bonus seats. Number of seats are allocated according to the percentage of votes that they receive, every political party. And even bonus seats are entitled. The political parties that get higher votes, they are given bonus seats. Even any political party that gets more than 5%, they are also given bonus seats. Referendum is this one, highlight that one. This is a kind of election that people directly participate in legislation. And here in the form of yes or no, they vote. And the option that gets more than 50%, that is won. In 1982 only, that we had a referendum in our country to extend the time of the parliament. Office of the parliament. Now we'll go to past paper questions. After discussing past paper questions, we can get the break. And then we can go for world history. So some says world history is not important. No, world history is very important because world history is given. Two questions are given from world history exactly. So by the next week, not the next, but the next week, you can just see the paper and see how the questions are given. Okay, we'll start doing past paper questions. If anyone wants, they can send me answers to check. Okay, 2016. Name 3 trade centers established by British in India, Calcutta, Bombay, and Madras. Writing answers for past papers is very important because those questions are once again repeated. State 2 factors that led the British to focus their attention on Sri Lanka. Why British paid attention on Sri Lanka? Because of 2 reasons. What are the 2 reasons? Yeah, Trincomalee Harbour. Economic importance and strategic importance. Strategic importance means Trincomalee Harbour. Location, yes. Explain briefly with reference to 2 factors why the British who captured the maritime areas of Sri Lanka wanted to capture Canadian Kingdom. That's a very rare question. So because of that, I have not given explanatory answer. But here, increase in trade profits and reducing military expenses I give. You can explain that those 2. How they increase trade profits. Avoiding conflicts, avoiding wars, how they reduce military expenses, that's well as well. And even without paying any taxes to the guests, they can go to Canadian Kingdom and get the Canadian goods and they can sell it, and that is an increase in trade profits. And describe briefly 3 causes that led to the struggle for freedom against the British in 1918. E3 is the answer. I gave that complete answer for this. The reasons for 1818 struggle for freedom. So 2017. Okay, 2017. Right, this one. Select from those. Appointment of members to the Legislative Council for the first time using limited vote. Under what reformation? Limited vote. Limited vote, what reformation? Establishment of the State Council with 61 members. Establishment of the Senate with 30 members. Solved. State 2 constitutional changes and 2 economic changes made by Congress. 2 constitutional changes are establishment of executive and legislative councils and dividing the country into 5 provinces. 2 economic, introduction of plantations and introducing indirect taxation system. We discussed that. Even land sale policy also economic. Third question. Describe briefly 2 social changes in Sri Lanka under British rule. Changes. Two social changes, birth of the labor class, birth of the middle class. E5 is the answer. Model answer. Now, what is this E5? That also you should know. E5 means this one. So I have given an E number for every model question. See E5. This is E5. See this one. Okay, social changes here, growth of middle class and working class. Those are two social changes. So that's the number of the model answer is E5. So that's what we are writing here. Okay, E5. Name two multi-purpose development projects started in Sri Lanka after the independence and explain with reference to facts how they contributed to the economic development of the country. What is the answer? E7. See, objectives of multi-purpose development projects. E7 is the answer. Now you can see any question of past papers. Any question of past paper can be answered using this guideline, the tube. So then you believe me that this time also you can write answers successfully by studying this tube. So here I gave the confidence for you. Here you see any question. Right, then see 2018, name 3 European nations who were in a trade competition in the countries surrounding in the Indian Ocean, Portuguese, Dutch and French. Except British. Can we use this for MCQ purpose? Exactly. Last time when we do the last seminar, I showed no, by discussing some MCQs, I think we have done all. But exactly you can use because everything that can be given for MCQ paper also is included here. State two reasons which led to the importance of the Trincomalee Harbour to British to anchor their ships in monsoon time period to repair their wrecked ships in Bay of Bengal because Trincomalee Harbour was facing Bay of Bengal. So here, as short note, I have included something. The short note I have included is important to answer MCQs. The model essay type questions are important, right? Essay type questions. So for every and each lesson, I have included here short note that is important for MCQs. See the third question. Point out under two reasons how the British could conquer the upcountry without much effort. The king losing the loyalty of common people because he was giving severe punishments. And the support of aristocrats and contribution of John Lloyd that I think you can explain without my help. Fourth one, state three factors that led to the beginning of a struggle for freedom after about 3 years of conquering the upcountry and describe them briefly. E3, reasons for 1818 struggle for freedom. Once again, repeated. We'll move on to 2018, seventh question. The constitution which made the leaders of Sri Lanka for the first time to take decisions on agriculture. That means appointment of a minister of agriculture for the first time under what reforms? No more reforms. D.S. Anuradha became the minister of agriculture. The leader who is considered as the father of farming settlements, D.S. Anuradha. Father of farming settlements. The first multi-purpose project in Sri Lanka, Galloi Development Project. Mahali II. State two objectives of expected from establishing farming settlements that we have discussed. Using the land of the dry zone for the economic development. Okay. And reducing the land problem and the unemployment problem in the wet zone. E6. Point out this refers to two reasons why the dry zone of Sri Lanka is more suitable for agricultural development. E7, no. E7. Oh, E6. Wait. I have to see whether E7 or E6. E6, okay. E6. That's wrong. E6. Dry zone of Sri Lanka for the economic development of Sri Lanka. E6 is the answer. It's an E6. And even River Mahavali holds an uniqueness for the multi-purpose development projects than the other rivers in Sri Lanka. Explain this with reference to 3 facts. E7. Mahavali Development Project E7. Now see, all the model answers I have given has come into a past papers as answers. So why you get afraid of this type paper? Exactly, you can write answers using this guideline. And this one, mention 3 plantation crops introduced by British in the mountainous areas of this country: coffee, tea, and rubber. For districts, Nuarelia, Kandy, Matale, and districts, no? Or you can write even God. 4 districts. Here we have given 3 districts. Describe briefly 2 recommendations of coal group E4 that led for the development of plantation agriculture. What? Land sale policy. And what is the other one? One is land sale policy. The other one is private entrepreneurship. Indirect taxes are not coming this way. Why? To develop plantations. I gave 3. Indirect taxes is the third one. First and second comes for this one. Mention 1 economic and social changes which resulted in this country due to plantation, agriculture, and explain them briefly. E5 is the answer. E5 is the answer. 2020, 2019, 6 and 7 both. Name in order, first Prime Minister of Independent Sri Lanka, D.S. Senanayake. Prime Minister of Republic of Sri Lanka in 1972, Sirimawa Bandaranayake. First Executive President, J.R. Jayawardena, only half of the name had been written here. So you write the full name. Mention 2 types of new voting systems. What are the 2 types? Presidential election, referendum, proportional preferential system. State and explain briefly 2 activities taken by the government that came to power after independence of about 30 years of time to develop commercial agriculture. E8 is the answer. And this one, field of industrial development, E8 is the answer. So from E8, you can find these 2 answers. Commercial agriculture, industrial field. So before the exam day, just read this one. Questions and answers. Once again, you read. 2020. What is the crop that the Dutch started for the first time as a plantation? Coffee. Name 2 crops that the British started to grow in the Candian areas but failed later: corn and cocoa. State 2 obstacles that the entrepreneurs had to face when starting plantations in Sri Lanka: scarcity of land, no land. That's why Colebrook started land sale policy. High taxation system. So that's why he changed the taxes. So state 2 remedies: introducing Barren Land Act and making tax reformations. 4th question, describe 2 factors that cause the dry zone to receive specialty in selecting to start colonization. Farming settlements. Farming settlements came in what? Farming settlements came in E6, right? Not E7. Huh? That is E6. E6, farming settlements, dry zone. And objectives of Mahavali Development Scheme E7. E7. See, 6th and 7th, both questions are coming sometimes from the second section, not using Dutch and Portuguese. Here, 2026 question, now see the 7th question, even from the same. First British governor in Sri Lanka, Frederick North. The governor of this country at the time of 1880 struggle, Robert Brownrigg. And the governor of this country at the time of 1848 freedom struggle, Viscount Torrington. What is the reason that made the Secretary of State for Colonies to send Colebrook Commission? Why Colebrook Commission came? High state expenditure and low income. From Sri Lanka, very high expenditure, but low income. What is the recommendation made by Colebrook Commission to reduce the power of the governor? Establishment of executive and legislative councils. And third one, state political rights achieved by the citizens of this country through Donamo reforms. Universal franchise. You can explain about universal franchise, but I have not given a model because this is a very rare question to come. And write short notes on presidential election, proportional preferential system of election, and referendum. You can write using what in E9. Okay, this section is finished. So then we can move on to the world history. But before that, we'll take a break. So it's 8:21. So we'll have the break up to 8:45. So 8:45, you can join once again. And we will be discussing world history. Okay, is it okay? Having a break only for just 25 minutes. 2021 question I did not include why, no needed, not why. It is once again not repeated. Okay. Yes. Yeah, world history will start after the break. Okay, if anyone wants, they can just have a break. And once again rejoin. Okay, I'm keeping this on like this. Okay, we'll start. It's 8:46. Now we are moving to world history. So world history, first we will discuss the short note. Okay. And then this short note is important to answer MCQs. No, actually I wanted to discuss MCQs with you here in this seminar, but actually having less time. So because only within 8 hours we have to complete everything. So because of that, I thought of marking all the answers and writing some additional notes near to the question, sending you all the MCQs of past 6 papers to you. Okay, so because of that, you can just refer them once again, and just my advice before going to this time exam, just you refer all the MCQs and go. Surely you can get 40. So all these things I will be making a photo like something of the answer script and sending you through the website. So get it to the website, right? Leonardo da Vinci. These are 2 paintings of him, Mona Lisa and the Last Supper, and Michelangelo paintings in the Sistine Church in Rome. And Samuel Morse, he invented Morse code system. He invented Morse code system and the telegraphy. And Robert Fulton, invention of the steamboat. No need of informing. Tomorrow I am uploading to the website these the short note, this completed tube. Early one already uploaded. By tomorrow morning, this will be uploaded. The Canadian Kingdom 1 with Canadian Kingdom 1 uploading. But for MCQ, give me 1 day. By Tuesday, you can get it. Recordings from tomorrow, you can get from Miss Hasna. Miss Hasna, you call Miss Hasna, I gave you the number here. I mentioned the number here for everyone. In chat messages 077 555 2298 Miss Hasna's number. So call her and get the 2 recordings. I have given the first recording to her already, and second recording tomorrow I'm giving this recording. She will give you. Don't highlight anything here because everything important. So if you highlight everything, you had highlight. So because of that, no need of highlighting. Just go through it. And Humphrey Davy, safety land, Guglielmo Marconi, radio race. Okay. And John Macadam system of making roads. Henry the Navigator, he was the Portuguese ruler who supported sea voyages of the ocean. And Otto von Bismarck was one who defeated France and unified Germany. William Kaiser II was the German emperor who set the background for the British involvement in the World War I. So first one, William the First. This is second one. Adolf Hitler, he was the German leader who created World War II. Bartholomew Dias was the explorer who discovered Cape of Good Hopes. He sailed along the western coast of African continent and he came to southern tip of Africa. He named it as Cape of Storms because he could not cross it due to storms. And later on, Vasco da Gama, Naval Henry, the navigator and the ruler of Portugal, he renamed it as Cape of Good Hopes. That's why Vasco da Gama just crossed it and came to Calicut of India. William Harvey discovered blood circulatory system. And George Washington was the one who gave the leadership for American freedom struggle. And he became the first president of America. So these are the 3 effects of Industrial Revolution. Creation of a class society. What are the 2 classes emerged due to Industrial Revolution? Can anyone give me the answer? 2 classes. What are the 2 social classes emerged? Middle class and labor class. Okay, but rich and poor. Majority laborers. Okay, and minority rich people, birth of cities. So these are the economic. Capitalist economic order was introduced. What is capitalist economic order? Capitalist economic order means trade economy. Trade economy. Okay. So better you just write rich minority and majority labors. Those are the two classes. And Constantinople was captured by Turks in 1453 AD. And who are the Protestants? Protestants were the religious people who criticized the Catholic Church. Martin Luther from Germany, John Wycliffe from England. So there are some others also, but I mentioned here only two. Those who criticized the corruptions of the Catholic Church. Right, moving forward. These are the slogans of French Revolution, Russian Revolution, and American War of Independence. Freedom, equality, and brotherhood. French Revolution, Russian Revolution, land for farmers, bread for laborers, and peace for soldiers. American War of Independence, no member or tax. Okay, important events in the world history. Suppressing enemies using black shirt army by Benito Mussolini, giving birth to Nazism Adolf Hitler, introducing fascism Benito Mussolini of Italy, Boston Tea Party, American War of Independence, it is related to. Odds in the tennis court is related to French Revolution. Birth of League of Nations is related to First World War. Because that was the world organization started after First World War to protect world peace. Putting bombs to Sri Lanka done by Japan in the Second World War. Pearl Harbor attack was done by Japan in the Second World War. Complete up to that. I will move forward. Sinking of Lusitania. That was done by German submarines in the First World War. Not gathering State General Council. So, what is State General Council? It was the People's Council, Representative Council in France, where King had to consult with when taking a decision. It was not gathered by King Louis XIV, 15th and 16th. That's why the French Revolution came on. Attack on Bastille prison is related to French Revolution. What is Bastille prison? It is the prison where political prisoners were kept by the king. And the history will not excuse us if we do not get hold of the power at this moment. V.I. Lenin stated this statement in the Russian Revolution. So Lenin was the one who stated this. British Prime Minister during World War II, Winston Churchill, who killed many Jews, Adolf Hitler. Nationalizing Suez Canal was done by Egyptian President Abdul Gamal Nasser. Right, so this one, ending of World War II by Emperor Hirohito of Japan. World Organization started after World War I to protect world peace is League of Nations. And World Organization started after World War II to protect world peace is United Nations Organization. Boston Tea Party, American War of Independence. Okay, who says, can you please send me this tune? The tune is in the website. You have to download and fill this. And the completed tune will be uploaded to the website tomorrow morning, by tomorrow morning. So you can download that, okay, and get it. So usually when there's a class in the web, when you are joining to the website, the tune is there. So even I, as a help, I'm just giving this completed tune. Okay, so then with the notes, it's there in the website by tomorrow morning, so you can download. Can you share the completed tune through the Zoom? What is use of that? You can go to the website because you have paid and you just join to that. Okay, Calvo. There you can download the tune, no problem. What is Calvo? The situation with no war and no peace in the world after World War II and the political theory that acts tactfully without mediating through warfare to warfare for the success of their own political bloc. This definition you should not by heart because normally the definition is not asked. So USA and Russia became world two powers after World War II, and they created two power camps under them. American camp was known as capitalist camp and Russian camp was known as socialist camp. In between these two camps, after Second World War, there was a situation. There was no war but no peace. They wanted to fight against each other, but even the war doesn't come. So one of the main features during that time is what spy services were activated. What are spy services? Finding secret information on each other's camp. So to become powerful, USA activated Marshall Plan. So what was Marshall Plan? The economic aid program. So George C. Marshall, the State Secretary of USA, he introduced this program. Under this program, war affected European countries were economically helped to recover their economy, but they have to be loyal to USA. Okay, so through that only the capitalist camp was created. And the country Israel was a country that was created after World War II. There was no country called Israel before. Only Palestine was there. Palestine was divided into two, and Israel was created by USA for Jews. Now we can move on to model questions. Right? Okay. Before that, UNO is there. What is UNO? UN Charter was prepared in Tehran Conference. In the Tehran Conference, three leaders of three countries, US President Franklin D. Roosevelt and British Prime Minister Winston Churchill and Russian leader Joseph Stalin, they met and they discussed and they made the UN Charter, the agreement. To that agreement, many countries signed, like 50 countries, and they started United Nations Organization, the World Organization, to protect world peace after Second World War. After that, only USA, Great Britain, and Russia became enemies. And USA, Great Britain came to one side and Russia came to another side. So after this formation. So there are six main organs of UNO. Main one is General Assembly, only two I am discussing because for the exam asking only two. General Assembly is including all the members of UNO. Their task is appointment of the General Secretary and admission of new members to the organization. If any new country is admitted, they have to admit. So even Security Council is the major council responsible for protecting the world peace. They do imposing economic sanctions on some countries to solve some problems. That means, as an example, if we have any problem with India, if they want to solve that, if they want to influence Sri Lanka and India, on us, they put forward economic sanctions. Economically, our countries are isolated. No loans are given, no aid is given, nothing is bought from our countries, nothing is sold to our country by the members of UN. Then we will be economically isolated and however settled. No, we can't survive alone. Leaders who pioneered in establishing non-aligned summit. What is non-aligned summit? That is the world organization where the countries are not inclined into both camps, capitalist or Russian socialist camp. Initially, there were 5 members and they started. What are the 5 countries? India, Yugoslavia, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, like 5 countries. So the leaders of those countries, they contributed in the formation. And Jawaharlal Nehru was the Indian leader and Marshal Tito was the Yugoslavian leader, or those 2 leaders only asked in the exam, but even SWR Bandaranaike of Sri Lanka also contributed. Sarah is asking now Russia is on economic sanctions. Yes, but no problem. Why? Russia is a big country. They can survive under economic sanctions. But our countries are very small and we cannot survive. Right now we'll go to model questions. Factors that affected for the discovery of new trade routes. This time question number 8 is mainly from not industrial revolution but from Renaissance. If it is given from Renaissance, this question is very important. Okay, what discovery of trade routes? What are the reasons? Why trade routes were discovered to Asia and America? So only Europeans were there. So European invaders and European explorers, they have crossed Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean, Pacific Ocean. What are the reasons? The major reason was capturing of Constantinople by Turks. Constantinople was the main trade center for Europeans. All the Asian goods were coming to Constantinople. But what happened in 1453? It was captured by Muslims. Turks means Muslims. After capturing it by Muslims, Europeans had to buy Asian goods from Muslims. So they had to pay high taxes, high prices and high taxes for the Asian goods. Some Asian goods were not reaching Constantinople on time. So Europeans understood, once again, if they want to develop or catch the economic power in Asia, they had to suppress the economic power of Muslims in Asia. Without that, they could not do. So that's why they started finding new sea routes to America, Asia, and Africa, even. Okay, crossing many oceans. That's one reason why they discovered new trade routes, new sea routes actually. Yes, as Abdullah says, Russia is self-sufficient, so no problem. They can produce anything. So by putting economic sanctions, you cannot control Russia. So that's why they do the war against Ukraine still. But if they put economic sanctions on us, we will be in trouble. We can't survive without getting the help from other countries. At least we have to sell our products to other countries. If they don't buy our tea, what would happen? Second one is birth of a conductive background for exploring the new series. No, that means new discoveries and new inventions. They supported these explorers to go and discover new sea routes. Scientific inventions like Earth is a discovery, like Earth is the globe. Nicholas Copernicus, without any fear, people started going around the world. Gravitational pull by Isaac Newton. So without any fear, they went to the downside of the earth. North Star. North Star is always at the north. So at night in sea journeys, they could find the route, find the direction very easily because of North Star, even compass. And Galileo Galilei's telescope can be used only to see the sky objects, because the image given by it is inverted. But when you put another lens, when you use three lens in that, you can once again take an upright image, and so it could be used in these sea journeys. And some rulers supported these sea voyages. Henry the Navigator, Portuguese ruler, King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, Spanish rulers, they helped explorers. So because of the support of Henry, Vasco da Gama came to India. Because of the support of Ferdinand and Isabella, Christopher Columbus went to America by crossing Atlantic Ocean. And some explorers, they had a kind of desire for the adventurous journeys. Vasco da Gama crossed the Cape of Good Hopes. Christopher Columbus crossed the Atlantic Ocean. Ferdinand Magellan crossed Pacific Ocean. Don't write everything. There are some other explorers also, but you have to write only this. right? So then we'll go to another question here. Changes occurred in economic and social sphere due to industrial revolution. But this is also important, so we'll put, so I don't think that they will give you a question from industrial revolution, but if it is given, this is the answer. Changes in the economy and social sphere because of industrial revolution. So economic sphere, production had been increased, trade activities had been prominent, internal and external trade, agriculture had been developed, emergence of surplus of production, international trade, banking systems, monetary service, just complete. I don't think that this is so important for the exam. But however, just yeah, except the last Renaissance question, what else can come? Only two questions can come from Renaissance, no any other. They won't ask any reason or anything. So then social changes here. New class cities has been born, cities became large and congested. And a class society was imaged. Two classes were minority labors, majority labors and rich minority. Okay. Environment pollution. So living in slums by these are the difficulties faced by these laborers. Both men and women had to work, children were working, right? Okay. Changes that took place in political and economic field due to geography expansion. Now see, this is the third question related to explorations movement. But remember, political changes here I have given, economic changes are actually these changes. That's why I gave it after that. These economic changes, same you can take economic changes to this one. because and no difference like industrial revolution and this one, geography explorations. So here you can say birth of nation states, economically and politically powerful countries will emerge. Colonization means politically capturing small countries by bigger countries. World wars were started because of the competition for um, raw materials and finished products. Right? Advantages and disadvantages, outcomes of industrial revolution. Uh, so this is also important if a question is given. Okay. If the question is given from industrial revolution, this is all. This is an important question. But I mostly guess that we will be given uh, the question from Renaissance, especially this discovery of trade routes. Right. Here you can see improvement in transportation, communication, agriculture, iron and steel industry, coal industry, textile industry. Okay. Transport field, we'll go to that one. There was a development in the field of transportation due to the need of transporting raw materials and finished products. In 1935, steam engine was invented by Thomas Newcomen and improved by James Watt to be used in the field of transportation. Okay, so actually steam engine of Thomas Newcomen was invented not for the transportation, but for using in the coal industry, in coal mines to refresh coal mines as well as to remove water connected there. But later on, James Watt only improved that to be used in this transportation. So then steam run railways had been invented by John Stephenson in 1814. And they wanted to transport a large bulk of goods cheaply. Is in if we don't write the years, won't we get marks? No need. No need to write years. In the singular medium textbook, no year is mentioned. Only in the English medium book, only year is mentioned. So additionally, I gave this years. No need of writing. If you can remember all and all, write any. That's enough. And steamboat Robert Fulton 1811, transport goods in water. So I have not included everything also. Steamship is not here. Steamship by Henry Bell to transport passengers. Motor vehicle, first motor vehicle, Daimler. Okay, and aeroplane, Wright brothers. You just write whatever you remember. And write down. Don't try to remember everything. So then we'll move on to what? Communication, agriculture. Right, communication. This is also related to transportation. Macadam method, John Macadam in 1811, to make fine roads for fast moving of heavy vehicles. So according to the way how we go, I don't think that we would have the time to discuss this question, right? If so, I will do sending of notes because actually this is the seventh hour that I am talking for today. I had a seminar in Colombo physically and talking for 4 hours in the morning from 9 to 1. And now here from 6:30 to up to 9:30. So this is the seventh hour that I am talking. So another 1 more hour we can do, like 10:30. After that, I don't think that my voice will survive. Okay. If so, the rest of the notes of the first tune I will sending as a PDF, uploading to the website so you can get downloaded, right? And the recording also you can get now, so then you can cover up. Communication field, penny postal service. Will you be discussing about the predicted map marking places? No, because I have done a seminar related to map marking. So once again, I can't. Okay, so that we did and everything we discussed. Okay. Yes, this tube I'm sending. This completed tube I'm sending. That's uploaded by tonight to the website, so you can get from tomorrow morning. And Morse code system telegraphy introduced by Samuel Morse in 1844 to send messages as a code. Telephone, Alexander Graham Bell, radio race, Guglielmo Marconi. So these are the contributions of those people for the development of a communication field. So then you have about agriculture. I'm not discussing about the coal industry, iron steel industry and textile industry. So they are also important, but I'm not going to discuss directly. You can see from the book. If you want, write somewhere that you have to read about those three sections fields also. Textile industry, iron steel industry, coal industry. Really a question can come as well as you have to learn about the new inventions and discoveries related to those fields. So they they have been given one slide, okay, in past papers to explain the development of iron and steel industry, like the development of textile industry, like okay. So that can be given, and because of that, you just read from the textbook the new inventions and discoveries related to three fields. What are the three fields? Textile industry, iron and steel industry, coal industry. Agriculture I have given here. In order to increase food production for the increasing population, the field of agriculture to experience vast development. So in the question which was given about agriculture, they have given how? Explain under three examples the development of agriculture during industrial revolution. So then you can write about three things. If you don't write three examples in your answer, you are not given marks. Crop exchange system and rotational system had been introduced in agriculture. Why? There was no use of fertilizer, the land becomes infertile. So to prevent that, they were using crop exchange system and rotational system. Then you can write about line sowing method. Line sowing method of Jen Rotter. And then Robert Backwell's new sheep breeding methods. And you can write about Americans and Africans using fertilizer. So then we have discussed even advantages, outcomes of industrial revolution and disadvantages, outcomes of industrial revolution. So this is industrial revolution is advantages as well as disadvantages. Okay. So these facts are its advantages. Daily life became more comfortable. People had more leisure time because of usage of machinery. Manual work was so difficult. International cooperation grew. International trade has been developed. And disadvantages factors are environment became polluted. Cities became congested and overpopulated, social problems occurred. And due to the competition for raw materials and selling finished products, world wars have been emerged. And difference between rich and poor has been expanded. And poverty became a social problem. Qualities of people and their values have been lost because of money-minded society. Disadvantages outcomes of industrial revolution. So then we can move on to the questions related to this. 8 question. And we'll see what were the answers for these questions, and then we can directly move on to world wars and world revolutions. Right, 2016. Name 3 philosophers who express ideas that helped the French Revolution. Montesquieu, Voltaire, and Rousseau. Write suitable answers. The immediate reason for the origin of the American Revolution, Boston Tea Party. Because of Boston Tea Party, it's not a Tea Party actually, it was the struggle against the tea tax of British by the Americans. Those Americans in Boston City, they have got into a ship with tea and threw 342 tea containers into the sea as a protest. That is known as Boston Tea Party. From that only, American War of Independence started. The first president of the independent United States, George Washington, the ruler of France during the French Revolution, Louis XVI, and the person who gave leadership to the Russian Revolution, V.I. Lenin. Right, we'll move on to the third question and see. Third question. Briefly explain 2 changes that took place in that country after the French Revolution. Actually, this answer will be given later on. Already we have not discussed. G3 is the will be the answer. And Russian results of Russian Revolution, G3 will be the answer. Right, 2017 question. The industrial revolution in Britain was based on 3 industries. What are them? Textile industry, iron and steel industry, and coal industry. And field of new 2 inventions took place in the field of communication and transportation. Any 2 you can write. Communication, Morse code system and telephone. Transportation, steamboat and first motor vehicle. So describe 2 changes that occurred in the world's social sphere consequent to the Industrial Revolution. Changes. F4, we discussed that. And explain the effects of the Industrial Revolution. Once again, results. E5. Revolution on Sri Lanka. I told you E5, results of Industrial Revolution. So that we discussed earlier. Okay. Birth of a class society like middle class and labor class, that comes under this. 2018, name 3 cities of Italy which got the publicity due to the Renaissance: Florence, Genova, Venice. Florence became famous due to the art. Genova and Venice for trade activities. So if they ask a question only about trade, You can write Venice and Genova, not corners. Corners cannot be written so. So in one question, in after that, they are asking that, okay. And finally, the fact that the Earth is spherical. Who did that? Nicholas Copernicus. Invention of the telescope, Galileo Galilei. Discovering the law of gravitation, Isaac Newton. Invention of the printing machine, Johannes Gutenberg. What is meant by humanism? So that's a possible question if the question is given from Renaissance. What is humanism? The idea that the man is noble. Name three paintings which had been popular during the Renaissance: Mona Lisa, Last Supper, Last Judgment. Mona Lisa and Last Supper by who? Mona Lisa and Last Supper by Da Vinci, yes. And Last Judgment from Michael Angelo, right? Explain three results of exploration movement. The answer is F3. Three results of exploration movement, no? So F3 is the answer. So I told you F3 is our model answer. You can refer F3 to get this answer. 2019, state three European countries who had established colonies by 18th century. France, Portugal, Poland. So throughout this seminar, I discussed all the questions of 5 papers. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 21, I am not going to discuss it too because they are not once again repeated. Last year. So 5 papers, discussing answers for 5 papers is done within this seminar. Now, subjects like history, factual subjects, normally doing past papers is the most important because the same model is repeated always. So here this is important, right? So my advice even before the exam day of history, you just go through entire tube this one. So once again, no need of referring any past paper question. Here everything had been discussed. So a few new inventions are there. Who are the people? Flying shuttle by John Kay, safety lamp by Humphrey Davy, steamship by Henry Bell, telegraph service by Samuel Morse. Next question is this one. Describe with 2 examples the development of iron and steel industry in Britain during the period of industrial revolution. I told you iron and steel industry that you have to see from the book. Very rarely can come. And 3 examples, the development of field of agriculture. F4, we just wrote about Jen Rotter's line sowing method, Robert Backwell's new sheep breeding methods, and African and Americans were using fertilizer. What is the city where the Greek and Roman scholars were engaged in educational activities and occupied by the Turks? Constantinople. Name 2 Italian cities that were famous because of their trading and commercial activities, Venice and Genoa. And write 2 features of the architecture during the Renaissance. Buildings they started constructing with large pillars and arcs. Earlier than that, they could not do such creations. And buildings with large semicircular domes. They came with the Renaissance. Earlier, conical roofs could be seen. Only they were making conical roofs. And the next question is, write 2 new theories expressed about the universe during Renaissance. The fact that the Earth is a globe and sun-centered theory. The fact that the Earth is a globe by Nicholas Copernicus and sun-centered theory by Johannes Kepler. And explain giving examples on 2 main features of art and sculpture that originated in Italy during the Renaissance, taking religious themes in their creations to make a painting or sculpture, religious themes like Mother Mary and Jesus, the statue of Pieta, no, that's having a religious theme. Naked and nude figures had been created with the real size of the statues. So many naked figures you can see in Greek sculpture. Give one each political change and economic change that took place in the world because of geographical exploration. The second time this question coming. Okay, political changes and economic changes. The nation states, world wars. Okay, those things are political. And economic, I gave the development of trade and everything. So we are not moving to 2021 because I told you, I'm not discussing 2021 question. It's not so important to discuss because the same questions will not be defeated. Very rarely that may happen if so. Then we'll move on to ninth question. That's about the world revolutions and world wars. Reasons that affected for the American War of Independence, this question has not come until now. What are the two reasons? British economic policy and commercial activities. So British government, that is the motherland of American states now. British people, they have gone to America and established colonies. So because of the long distance and less communication, the interference to states by the motherland was very little. But after 1763, what was that year? Importance of that year. So that was the year that war, 7-year war between France and Great Britain ended. British economy was totally collapsed. So British Prime Minister George Granville thought of using American states to recover the economy of Great Britain. What did he do? He passed 3 acts, 3 bills in the parliament. They were not taxes, they were acts. Sugar Act was what? Now actually, according to the orders of the motherland, sugar is one of the main productions in America that could not be sold to any other country by directly. Directly, they can't do that. So that sugar should go through Great Britain. They have to send it to Great Britain. From there only other countries. That means a tax had been obtained. But illegally, sugar was sold by Americans to other countries to recover their loss. But they have taken a new decision to send more naval forces to American seas to stop illegal sugar transactions. So then they were experiencing a lot of losses. They could not cover up their loss. Under currency note act, what happened? Many of the American people have taken loans from British banks. So in repaying those, they cannot use their own currency because it's a soft currency. The banks did not accept the currency notes of Americans. So these people had to pay the debts in gold or silver. So that means for huge economic profit that they have done this. And Stamp Act is what for every legal document in America, they had to paste and a British stamp with high value. So the high class people like lawyers and printers in American society, they were affected because of Stamp Act. So that this economic policy affected the American War of Independence. Even special tea tax was introduced. So that also contributed. Boston Tea Party came on because of that. Okay. And political and social factors in the second heading, Americans were used to a self-governing system now. Because of long distance and less communication, no interference was there. But now so suddenly that they started interfering. So why people went to America? In search of economic freedom, religious freedom, the freedom. They valued freedom. That's why they went. So when their freedom was violated, and when motherland interfered a lot, so they became violated. And even the British government's inability to understand the expectations of the people. So American people wanted freedom. That's why they went to a so far away place and established their settlements. So they did not like their motherland interference. An attempt to suppress reasonable struggles. Now, reasonably, they were struggling against their motherland, but motherland could not understand that, and they suppressed them in a cruel way. Okay. Even the influence of French Revolution. Okay, that also motivated American people to fight against their motherland. Factors that affected for the French Revolution. Okay, what reasons? Autocracy of French monarchy. King Louis XIV was an autocratic king. No? He misused judicial powers. How he misused judicial powers? By keeping political prisoners. Who were the political prisoners? They were the people who became against. So political prisoners, they were kept in the Bastille prison without any wrong deed. Can you scroll up a bit? Okay, I'm scrolling up. And then after that, he made some statements. His statements show his autocracy. I am the kingdom. I am the state. Anything anticipated by me is lawful. Whatever I do, that is lawful. So, autocracy of King Louis XIV. He set the background for the revolution. He was the initial person who started this autocracy in France. And he built Versailles Palace in gold, spending such a lot of money unnecessarily for his comfort. Even he did a war with France, 7-year war, unnecessary war for the supremacy. And Louis XV continued the same corrupt rule. Louis XVI was the last ruler. He was a very lazy ruler. During his time, only the French Revolution was started. Even if you want, you can write about his Austrian wife of King Louis XVI. She was a very proud woman, and when people were struggling, asking for bread, she told, if no bread, eat cake. So that violated common people. Right, then social and economic factors. French society has been divided into few strata. Aristocrats as well as priests were regarded as high class, and they enjoyed all the privileges. So that is also one of the reasons why common people became against them. Okay, enjoyed all the privileges. And farmers, laborers, and common people, they are poor. They had to pay more than 62% of their income as taxes. To whom? To the king, to the church, to the lords, to the aristocrats. And even the French government, they unnecessarily implemented three taxes. Gabelle tax is the salt tax. Every adult person had to buy 7 pounds of salt annually. If there are 4 people in the house, 28 pounds. Pound is heavier than a kilo. So what is the use of that much of salt? Salt is produced freely for the government, and by selling salt, they earn a lot of money. Capitation tax is a body tax. Everybody had to pay. Everybody, anyone having body had to pay. Tail tax was a land tax. So these three taxes were implemented by the government, harassing three taxes. Middle class, better, but they did not have political rights. So the ideas of Montesquieu, Rousseau, and Voltaire also they influenced French society, French Revolution. They are social and economic factors. Earlier, political factors. Political factors and social and economic factors. Results of French Revolution is important. So here I have given it as an important part. So results of French Revolution. What happened? Collapse of the French monarchy. So that Bourbon dynasty, King Louis, they were defeated and their monarchy had been collapsed. King and the Queen were executed. Last king, King Louis XVI, and his wife Marie Antoinette, they were killed. And a democratic rule was established. After that, a good rule had been established. Birth of a rule that supported common people. The problems of common people, farmers and laborers had been, for some extent, they were solved. Laborers were received with relief, political ins, but they could not enjoy the freedom. Once again, an autocratic commander of the army called Napoleon Bonaparte had captured the power of France. So that's the result. Those are results of the French Revolution. And what are the results of the Russian Revolution? The same things like, but bit of differences are there. Collapse of Russian monarchy, like French monarchy. There the king and queen were executed, but here entire family had been killed. And the democratic rule had been started in France, but here socialist rule was started by V.I. Lenin, the one who led this struggle. And many factories were peopleized. Farmers and laborers were received with relief, like in France. Russia started spreading socialism throughout the world. So if they ask a question, what are the influences of Russian Revolution to the world? So you have to tell that they started spreading socialism. Why they started spreading socialism? To attract countries to their camp, socialist camp. And they did many things to attract. Because of that, the Cold War situation had been emerged. So that is the second influence to the world due to Russian Revolution. So that is also one of the questions in early papers. Explain two influences of Russian Revolution to the world. Spread of socialism and formation of the socialist camp and emergence of Cold War situation. Okay, another model question. We move on to that. That is related to world wars. Okay. Reasons for the failure of the League of Nations. So that is a possible question. Reasons for the failure of the League of Nations. Why League of Nations, the world organization formed after First World War to protect world peace, became a failure? An incomplete membership. So what is incomplete membership? There were 55 countries who became members, but 3 main countries were not members. Who were the 3 countries? USA. Woodrow Wilson was the US president who formed this organization according to famous 14 points of him. What are these famous 14 points? When America come into World War I, they declared these are 14 reasons why we come for the war. That is the Constitution. So is it strong? No. US Congress told, even though this was formed by our President Woodrow Wilson, we don't like that America becoming a member. So most powerful country in the world did not join. Germany was regarded as the only guilty party for the war, First World War, through Versailles Treaty. Germany was punished. So Germany was the only guilty party, so they were not given the membership. One of the troublesome countries in the world was not given membership. Now, Russia was in allied side, allied powers with USA and Great Britain and France in First World War. But in the middle in 1917, they resigned from that group, and because of Russian Revolution. Okay, leaving allied powers in 1917. So Russia was not given membership. So one of the most powerful countries once again was not a member. So incomplete membership. As well, there are some weaknesses. What are the weaknesses? Member countries were war-torn countries, more affected countries, and they could not contribute to protect world peace. And weak constitution. What is the constitution? The famous 14 points of Woodrow Wilson. Why America came to the war was the only constitution. So they could not take any decisions using this weak constitution. And there was no unity. The member countries were fighting with each other. How can they protect the world peace by fighting with each other? And the union was not able to work against some countries. When some countries were doing some actions or activities against the constitution, which could create another world war, they could not take any decision. One such situation was what? Mussolini of Italy. He invaded Ethiopia. When he invaded such poor country, Ethiopia, economic sanctions had been imposed on Italy, but Mussolini did not care. They have not taken. And no disarmament committee. So what is a disarmament committee? If something had happened in another country, so there must be an army to go and attack and solve the problem. But in League of Nations, no such thing. But in UNO, now the present organization, which had been formed to protect world peace, they have Security Council. The Security Council is having peacekeeping forces. They can send peacekeeping forces to anywhere to solve any problem. Now, NATO is not related to this one. NATO is something else. Don't write about NATO here. NATO is a kind of world organization, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which had been formed by 16 European countries for their protection. And now there are 15 countries. Greece had gone away from NATO. Don't write about that NATO in here in this answer. In our syllabus, no NATO. Okay. And here, if they ask 3 facts, 3 reasons why League of Nations was a failure. Here I gave only under 2. So these weaknesses you once again divide into 2. You can write about the inability of these countries and weak constitution. Sorry, inability of these countries and those weaknesses together, and weak constitution as an inability of taking decisions separately. Reasons for the Second World War under 2 facts. That's a good question once again. So what are the reasons for the Second World War? Hitler and his activities. Who was Hitler? The autocratic leader of Germany. He introduced PORN concept. What was PORN concept? He told that Germans were the descendants of PORNs. So all the other people in other countries in Europe, they are inferior. Inferior people should be killed and should be vanished. Even in his own country, the disabled people and all people he regarded as inferior and had the idea that they should be killed. And he killed Jews, millions of Jews by telling that Jews were inferior. They were willing to belong to inferior group of people. So he divided the world into 2, superior and inferior. Superior people, inferior people. Germans are superior. Okay. So then Germans or descendants of from PORs who had migrated to Europe from Central Asia. Hitler's idea was that Versailles Treaty had punished Germany. So once again, you have to undo Versailles Treaty. Tear up a Versailles Treaty. Swastika symbol he had taken as a flag of the Germany. Why? Because swastika symbol was a symbol of Aryans. However, Hitler could create patriotic feelings among Germans, and then he came to annexation policy. He started invading other countries. What countries he invaded? Austria in 1939, Czechoslovakia, Poland. When invading Poland, only the Second World War started. Denmark, and then Norway. Those countries have been annexed and captured. Then Mussolini joined him from Italy, an autocratic ruler. Then only World War was strengthened. What is the second reason for the birth of Second World War? Japan. From other side, Japan wanted to build up a great empire in Asia. He started spreading his power to Indian Ocean side and to Atlantic Ocean side. So Japan, he became wealthy and became powerful militarily. They wanted to build up a large empire in Asia and started their annexation policy from China, attacked China and captured China. And after capturing almost all Asian countries, Japanese submarines came to Indian Ocean to attack Sri Lanka and India. So that is the end of Japan Harbor. The destructive attack on Pearl Harbor, because through the side of Atlantic Ocean, they attacked Guam camp of USA. Pearl Harbor was the main military base of USA that had been attacked. When USA made, then USA made a great contribution for the Second World War. So US involvement in the Second World War was ensured by Japan. Failure of the League of Nations is the third heading if you are writing on the three headings. Those are the reasons for the birth of a Second World War. How United Nations Organization had taken actions to settle world disputes. So this is once again important. How they solved world problems. First method, personal interference of UN Secretary General. UN Secretary General is the main executive person of UNO and he personally go and talk with leaders when there's a problem. So then leaders, they agree to solve the problem, settle the problem. So there are two examples. So you have to write examples if you are explaining this. What are the two examples? Berlin problem and Cuban Missile Crisis. So we discuss what they are. Berlin problem. In Berlin problem, after Second World War, Germany was divided into two. So this is Western Germany, this is Eastern Germany, and Western Germany had been taken by USA, UK means Great Britain and France, and they activated capitalist economic policies to this side. And Russia had taken the Eastern Germany side to take care and they implemented socialist economic policies. Berlin, the capital was in the side of Eastern Germany. This is Western Berlin, Eastern Berlin. So Western Berlin was controlled by this group, Eastern Berlin by Russia. And there was only one supply route from Western Germany to Western Berlin. It was a railway line. All the things needed for Western Berlin was provided by these countries through this railway line. Here, capitalist economic policies and quick development. Here, socialist economic policies and slow development. So there was a tendency of people of Eastern Germany to migrate to Eastern Germany. Even people of Eastern Berlin to the side of Western Berlin. So Joseph Stalin, the Russian leader, got angry and he blocked this only supply route to Western Berlin from Western Germany. Now the people of Western Berlin, they had no food, nothing to wear, and no needs were provided. So these countries had to made a great effort to put them by flying in planes. So, however, this problem was solved by General Secretary of UNO personally meeting these leaders, and Russian leader Joseph Stalin agreed to once again solve this by opening this route. That is Berlin Power. What is Cuban Missile Crisis? Cuba is an American country located in the Caribbean Sea. So because of the influence of Russia, some countries in American two countries, they wanted to become socialist. But America, USA did not like that any of American countries come into the side of Russia. That was a threat for them. Cuba in 1956, under the Cuban Revolution, became a socialist country. Against that, USA sent a mission to Cuba to attack under the leadership of a commander called Batista. Against that action, Cuba complained Russia about this incident, and Russia came and sent their missiles in Cuba targeting USA to attack. In return, USA sent their missiles in Turkey and Israel. Turkey and Israel to attack Russia. So this was like the Third World War. However, what happened here? Once again, the Secretary General of UNO, he personally interviewed the problem, talked with the two leaders and solved the problem. So these are the two problems solved under that action. Personal interference of UN Secretary General. Okay, you can write that. So there's another second method, dispatching peacekeeping forces. Peacekeeping forces were who? The forces or the armies comprised of the soldiers of every member. Every country is not contributing. Some countries they contribute, even Sri Lanka. They give their soldiers for peacekeeping forces in some peacekeeping processes in some places. So normally, I told you that League of Nations became unsuccessful because they had no any disarmament committee. So this is the disarmament committee of UNO that they can do this through Security Council. So here in this way, they have solved two other problems. One is Suez Canal crisis. So what is Suez Canal crisis? Now, Suez Canal is located where? So this is Mediterranean Sea, this is Red Sea, and this is Israel, and this is Egypt. So this is the Suez Canal. So here this is in the country this side Egypt, country this side Israel, and Egyptian President Abdul Gamal Nazar requested the help of Western countries to construct a dam across Nile River. But USA, Great Britain, they told we can't help. So because of that, Abdul Gamal Nazar, Egyptian president, complained to Russia and he went to the side of Russia. And he blocked one end of the Suez Canal, told that no British ship or French ship can go through this Suez Canal. Because many of the British and French ships were using this Suez Canal to cross. Israel captured the other end and told no ship can travel. Now, beside the canal, there's a. How this problem was solved? By dispatching peacekeeping forces by UN. Other one is Korean War. What is Korean War? Korea was divided as North Korea and South Korea after Second World War. North Korea was supported by Russia and China. South Korea was supported by USA. They had a war in between North Korea and South. Actually, though this war had been done by North Korea and South Korea, it was a war between Russia, China one side and USA another side. In 1953, this war ended, and after that, to protect the borders, peacekeeping forces were dispatched, used. So that is another problem solved through dispatching peacekeeping forces. Okay. So imposing economic sanctions is the third one. So what is imposing economic sanctions? That some countries are economically isolated. So International Court of Justice, through the International Court of Justice, they give some judgments to solve some problems. Even a country is agreeing to accept, they can accept, but it is not a judgment, a recommendation only. And limiting the arms build-up in the world. Results of the Second World War once again important. Okay. Change of balance of power in the world. One result. So what is the change of balance of power? Great Britain and France were most powerful two countries before the Second World War, even First World War. But they lost the pride. France was defeated 2 times against Germany. Great Britain was attacked by Hitler. So they lost their pride, and later on USA and Russia became most powerful countries in the world. So balance of power had been changed. So because of this Russia and USA becoming world powers, what happened? Cold War had been started. Birth of Cold War is a results of Second World War. So if you take, if a question is given, explain two destructive results of Second World War, you can take these two. These two are destructive. Due to the changing of the world balance of power, USA tried to spread its power. European countries were attracted to the programs like Marshall Plan, and he introduced Truman concept to attract other countries, namely independent countries. However, many countries were attracted to the capitalist camp, and they created the capitalist camp. Even Russia created the socialist camp. In between these two camps, what happened? There was a situation known as Cold War, no war, no peace. That's a result of the Second World War. The third result is not a destructive result or bad result or disadvantageous result. It's advantageous. What? Birth of UNO. Birth of UNO is another result. Okay. At the end of the Second World War, leaders of US, UK, USSR, so here USA actually, right? Not US. Right? Franklin D. Roosevelt, the president of USA, Winston Churchill, Joseph Stalin. These leaders, they got into one sheet and they created the organization called United Nations Organization. Signed, the UN Charter was signed by 45 nations in 1945, but they faced difficulties in solving some problems during Cold War. Now we'll move on to past paper questions. 2016, name 3 European countries who established colonies: Great Britain, France, and Portugal. Select the suitable answers from the list given below within the brackets and then in order for the following informations under ABCD. Person who created the country named Germany by uniting small states, Otto von Bismarck. The German emperor who followed a policy of establishing colonies, William Kaiser II. The British Prime Minister who gave leadership to the Allied powers during World War II, Winston Churchill. The Japanese emperor who signed the agreement of surrendering under no condition, Hirohito. Briefly explain two actions which can be followed by a United Nations organization to protect the world peace. G6 is the answer. You can write that peacekeeping forces and personal interference of UN Secretary General. Discuss briefly 3 results of World War II, G7. Results of World War II. 2017, name 3 countries that belong to the Allied powers during World War II: Great Britain, France, and USA, America. State in order the answers relevant to the following matters. The president relevant to America during the World War I, Woodrow Wilson. American harbor which was attacked by the Japanese during the World War II, Pearl Harbor. The ethnic group who was assassinated in German concentration camps during World War II, Jews. Names of the secret police forces of Adolf Hitler, Gestapo and SS. Describe briefly two forces that led to the World War II. Reasons for World War II, answer is G5. That Hitler's actions and this Japanese policy of aggression. Explain by stating 3 facts. The World War II brought about many destructive effects. Results of Second World War. Cold War situation. And here 3, no, I gave 2 destructive. One was Cold War situation and changing the balance of power in the world. So if you want to take the third heading, you can take destruction caused by Second World War to the world. You can write under that about the environmental pollution, loss of lives, loss of property, and everything you can write under that. 2018, name 3 European nations who established colonies in America: Great Britain, France, and Portugal. 2 reasons that led to the American Revolution: British economic policy on American states and new acts: Sugar Act, Currency Note Act, and Stamp Act. Describe 2 economic reasons which led to the French Revolution. B2. Reasons for a French Revolution. Economic reasons, no? Under that, you can write that economic difficulties faced by farmers, laborers, and common people. They had to pay more than 62% of the income to the as taxes. That one you can write. And the economic pressure created by the government through gabelle tax, capitation tax, and tail tax. So that is the second heading. Explain with examples to changes that occurred in the world's political sphere due to effects of Russian Revolution. Results of Russian Revolution, I told there. What are the 2? One is birth of, spread of socialism toward the world. Second one, Cold War situation. 2019. State in order of A, B, A and B, 2 camps created by the countries connected with the World War I. Allied powers and Central European powers. Name the heir to the throne of Austria who was murdered in the incident in Sarajevo, Prince Franz Ferdinand. The French emperor who invaded Russia and got defeated, Napoleon Bonaparte. The country that aimed an invasion to Manchuria in 1944, Japan. The British Prime Minister who motivated the British nationals to fight against Nazism, Lloyd George. The President of the USA during World War II, Franklin D. Roosevelt. Describe briefly the 2 incidents that influenced the United States of America to join World War I and World War II. Sinking of Lusitania, World War I, Pearl Harbor attack, first World War II. That you can explain under 2 paragraphs. Explain 3 factors which led the League of Nations for not being able to protect world peace. So that is failure of League of Nations, G4. Okay, 2020, no question from World Wars. 2021 question we not discuss. For you, there will be a question. If the question came from this in 2021, why it should not be given to you? They will give you exactly. Because 2021 people were the mostly affected people from Corona and all those things. That's why in 2020 they missed it, that question. Okay, but world history questions were there, so it was missed. Doubling that question, what about Renaissance and Industrial Revolution? They have given 2 questions. Okay, that was the only paper. 2019, 2020 was the only paper that the question from this section missed. Right. I don't think that we can move on to the 5th question and discussing 6, 7, and 8 questions. So, but I can give you those answers, right, by sending, so that okay, right. So then you can ask any question if you have. Sarah is asking, so I haven't tried the all-over 2021 paper for any subject because there's no answer sheets. Will be useful to just try them this week. No, don't do 2021 for any subject, no need. Okay. What about the MCQs? Yes, MCQs you can try. We can try any MCQ using these 2 booklets, 2 short notes, and I will show you how. I told you that I'm going to send you all for 6 MCQ tunes papers with answers to you. Then you can see whether I tell the truth. Okay. So now you don't have time to just do it by your own. So you have to refer my answers. How can we get the math mark into it? No way, because it is over now. Okay, and even taking math mark into it has no use. You must join the seminar and just you have to practice, right? So getting the tube is no use because it is not filled now. So you are filled and you don't have that much of time. Now only 7 days. It is better to study the contents this week, right? Than writing papers. Exactly, don't write papers now. You just read the notes and make a revision. And even if you can, you just see the questions and answers. But don't write, read only. Then asking, no need to do the history class papers now. No, don't. You don't have it. Now here all the answers here no. Why once again doing it? So just read it. That's enough. Can I get the map marking recording? I don't think now I have that. Okay. But send me a request revision. What about other subjects? Some are not completed also. Okay, that now this week you have to revise everything and go through the notes so quickly and have an overall revision, not doing past papers and don't waste time by doing past papers. Okay, don't do. Now here for history, all the answers for all the past papers I have given in this one. So reading that one, okay. You are not writing answers, no, you are not doing it, no, only reading. Even MCQs I am sending, no, then you are just going through. Even for other subjects, do like that. Going through the question and answer. Don't write. No time. Yeah, maths I'm doing only past paper. That's good. Because maths is something different. In the beginning, I told no. The factual subjects like history, religion, those things you can do in this way. But science and maths, they are different. So I can't give any idea about them. They have you have to do maths. You can't read and study. No, you have to do it. Even in this week, we are to do math sums. We are to do papers. That's for maths, not for history. Any other question to ask? Science, shall I do past papers or refer the book? I think this time now, even for science, you don't have time to do papers. Now, the best thing referring some notes, right? But for maths only, I agree to do past papers and the sums and all. Not for any other subject. You do not have time, that's the thing. Only 7 days we have. For single, I don't know. I have no solution for single. Because that's something you have to practice by looking at the book, even you can't get an idea, right? So practicing must be there, even that essays and all those. I mean that some things you write as criticism and all. Other questions you miss, will you upload update in the website exactly? Now I have is only one question, that is the fifth question, and 3 lessons, 6, 7, 8 of grade 10. Exactly, I will be uploading by tomorrow morning because you don't have time to wait. So if I have not uploaded by tomorrow morning, please complain me that you have not done it. Exactly, I will do that. Okay, right. However, we can finish this session, and if you have any question or anything, any support, WhatsApp me. This is my number. 0718435 399. So just WhatsApp me. Then I can give a solution for your problems, right? Even related to map parking also. However, WhatsApp me. I'll give a solution. Okay. So then it's 10:26. We can wind up the session. Thank you very much for joining. I think you got an idea about the exam. So I wish you good God bless to get an A pass for history as well as other subjects. Other questions you can forward me about math marking and everything through WhatsApp. Okay. Yes, you have to do your best and even send me a message that you got A. So that's what we need. only, right? So then I give you now my numbers. Consult me if you have any question or any problem, so then I will give solutions. And once again, wishing you God bless and even giving my blessings for a good results in all level. Going to wind up the session. Good night and thank you very much. Okay, right. Thanks. Yes, you don't miss me. I'm here. So you can message me. Okay. So welcome for thanking me. Okay, yes. So I also miss. So then you will be having A levels and all those sessions and do them successfully. Actually, you must do that. Send me a good result, then that's the proud of me, or pride of me. So I can be proud of you. You can protect the pride of me.